eclipse had been projected since 1970.
Did we actually experience that in Nigeria?
It was cited, I think, in Kano or one of the
Because I heard rumors of Lagos, but then I asked some of my friends in Lagos and they said they didn't see it. So the only place I confirmed that they actually saw it was in the US.
The US, I think Kano and thereabout, but the important thing is that it really shows that the science works. This was said in the 70s, that in 2024 there will be eclipse, and it happened, and our Muslim brothers had issues citing the moon, and that gave it an extra day for the fast, and then the Eid al-Fitr itself yesterday, and the holiday naturally has to follow.
Well, it's not a bad idea to have one extra holiday. Really, it isn't.
Well, you don't have a holiday.
Wow, thanks for rubbing it in. All right, citizen, to the main discuss now. This money that has been paid, 4.8 trillion naira that has been paid, is just about 16% of the money that's, the outstanding balance. So, does it make a difference? What impact does it make, really?
Well, the Ways and Means issue is one of the crisis that was bestowed on Nigeria and Nigerians by the Buhari administration. Never in the history of our politics did we, the citizens, even ordinary citizens, got to know what Ways and Means is. If they were spoken before now, it would have been seen as a banking term, which you don't have any interest in finding out what does it mean. But because the Buhari administration, with the then central bank governor, and finally at the end of his administration, the National Assembly was roped in to that very terrible man-made disaster that actually plunged us into the financial crisis that we are in, and maybe in for a while, except miracle happens. People will ask, what is Ways and Means?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you mentioned that before the Buhari's administration, it was really, not too many people knew about it. It really came to light during the Buhari's administration.
Exactly.
So several people would really be asking, what's Ways and Means?
I think legend has it that it was a creation of the British Parliament in the 17th century, and Buhari popularized it as having to do with government borrowing money from the central bank, the apex bank, which is seen and known and is supposed to be the lender of last resort. You go for loans where they give loans. You don't tell central bank, give me money, because you are directly telling central bank, print money, mobilize funds wherever, reserve from wherever, and give to me to spend. And then our lawmakers had envisaged that that is a possibility. It's not Buhari's creation. It's been there in the statute books. And as far back as 2007, the CBN Act clearly spelled out how that very facility should and must be adhered to. The law is there. Because of it, I will take some of the excerpts. So, but under President Buhari, the law guiding the federal government assessing loan, short-term loan, is supposed to be short-term loan.
Yeah.
In fact, by the law, it's a very short-term. You must pay back within the same year you take the loan, and you must not take any loan higher than 5% of what was the previous year's revenue. For instance,
so let me interrupt you there. Are you saying that this money that comes off the CBN is like put into the economy without value? Like there's no value attached to it?
The value is there. The value is in the negative, because we are supposed to assess that loan to make up for shortfall in revenue.
Okay.
Not the kind of thing which I will read out some figures as we proceed that happened under President Buhari. And then to speak directly to where you started from, the 4.83 trillion
Yes.
that His Excellency President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has repaid. That in itself is very interesting, because if you have been following up conversation having to do with ways and means, you will discover that under Buhari, as he exited, he had taken about 22 or 23, almost 23 trillion ways and means, and which was illegal. It was even the governor of Edo State that blew the whistle at the point when he raised the alarm that what is going on would destroy the economy of this country. And what was that? That the central bank was printing money for the president to share to them to pay salaries, not even for productive ventures. And the central bank governor Emefiele, I can't forget, he was sweating in public trying to counter what Obaseki said. He did not deny it, but he said people that are privileged should mind what they say and all this and that, which has really plunged us to where we are. So, but fast forward to under President Buhari, that's what I mean to know. It will be interesting to know that even the president, when he came into office, he also assessed the ways and means up to 7.2 trillion. The first almost 7 months of being in office. And that in itself became a problem. So when the National Assembly saw what happened and discovered the damage that has been done to the economy, the National Assembly, under the Smith Senate of Gospel Akwabi, the Senate President, set up a committee to probe the ways and means facility. And the terms he used were very strong. That nothing about partisanship should be in consideration. No sacred cows. Because of the destruction, the application or misapplication of the ways and means has done to the economy. That committee was set up. And people were saying, those that were loyal, call it so, loyal to the last administration, they said, oh, no, we did not take, it wasn't 30 trillion that we took, our own was 23, some say 22.7, and all of that. And I personally did my investigation from reports and some information available in public domain that it was actually the current administration that also assessed that facility. I have not calculated to see if he went against the rule. There's a rule in the CBN Act of 2007, I think section 38 sub 1, and that's to the effect that you cannot take more than 5% of the previous year's revenue, entire revenue that accrued to the federal government. Just 5%. I've not been able to check that out, but I'll read out how the last president flouted that very law. So, and looking at the committee that was set up by the National Assembly to probe the abuse of the ways and means facilities, and the fact that at the National Assembly 30 trillion was used as a figure along the line. I think it was in December, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sent a letter to the House to approve his assessing 7.2 trillion, which was official, which is a thing that should have been done in the first place. But it's like that money was already assessed before the request for approval. And you will ask, did he get the approval? He got the approval within 1 hour when it was presented. Within 1 hour of presentation on the floor of National Assembly, National Assembly said it's a priority, and they approved for Mr. President. Well, some people say it was in retrospect, He had already gotten the facility. Now he has gotten approval. And it went alongside with securitizing the loan. That is turning into a bond. Because the CBN Act says you need to pay back. And it was very clear, very explicit on the fact that you do not convert ways and means into bonds. But that request was made for it to be converted into bonds. The same thing that Buhari did under Ahmed Lawan. After they first rejected it, but a week after they came back and said, federal government said, National Assembly, if you do not convert this loan into bond, Nigeria will collapse. I won't forget that. And Ahmed Lawan, who had already had promised over the years that whatever Mr. President wants, he will get. The tape is there. I'm the one making this up. They approved conversion of the Ways and Means facility of, call it 23 trillion, into bonds, a 40-year bond. And when you recall how Emefiele was busy telling the world that there's too much money in the economy, it was that money he was talking about. And that money, nobody can lay hands on it. They knew what they did with the money. And they now put the entire punishment on citizens. That is what we are paying for. You don't bring such amount of money, put into the economy, not for productive things, and you cannot even account for it. It now became a very big burden on the economy.
So, citizens, this 16% that has been paid now is definitely going to look good on the economy.
It's going to look good on the administration, and that is why we need experts. We need professionals to be patriots, not to keep quiet when things go wrong. The 7.2 trillion this administration assessed and requested for approval by the Senate, by the National Assembly, to turn it into bond is most likely part of what the federal government is repaying, which means it's no longer going to be a bond. The one he took, the one the current president took, just a fraction of it. Remember, I mentioned the figure, 7.2 trillion is what this administration has assessed. And that 7.2 trillion was to be turned into a bond. I don't know the time frame, but that of General Buhari is 40 years. But that of this current president, 7.2, I don't know the time frame, but he is paying back that, except otherwise that there were other ones that were not official, which he is paying back. Otherwise, he's just repaying part of what he assessed.
If you're saying that the monies that was collected for ways and means was converted to bonds, now the repayments actually from bonds back to ways and means. How does this look? Does it look like borrowing to pay back another loan?
There is a mix-up which experts, financial experts, will be able to do it better than analysts like us. But the truth is that I have the facts that are available to the best of my knowledge, and the expert will tell us, is it possible to have floated the ways and means assessed by this administration into bond, and then suddenly within 3 months convert it from bonds back to repayment? So maybe that is possible, but we are in public now, and some experts too are listening. They can avail us of their expertise how that is possible, because it's the federal government that is paying back directly, while the humongous amount that was assessed by the last administration under General Buhari, nothing is being done, and we are paying for it. And people will be wondering, what wrong did he do? How can you fault a government that was trying to save a situation by saying that he did wrong? Let me give us figures. Interestingly, as at 2012, the money assessed by previous administrations having to do with ways and means was just 130 billion as at 2012. As at 2013, it got to 23% of what has been assessed having to do with the effect on the economy. But by 2022, it got to 411% under President Buhari. So what is the breakdown? 56 billion President Buhari took to 23.8 trillion. That's the actual amount he inherited when he came to office at 2015. 856, the entire ways and means by all previous administrations. But within that period, he took it to 23.8 trillion, which represents 2,635% in 7 years. What's the breakdown? In 2017, our revenue was 2.7 trillion. Buhari assessed ways and means of 1.1 trillion, which represented 37.2%.
Which is above the 5% now, was required by law.
Please be echoing it for me. That was 37% of the 2016 revenue. And 2.95 trillion against the CBN Act, which is in section 38(2), talking about the 5%. In 2018, the revenue was 3.87 trillion. Buhari assessed ways and means of 2.1 trillion. 5% of it will have been just 135 billion. But Buhari took it to 77.8% of the 2017 revenue. In 2019, Nigeria's revenue was 4.12 trillion. Buhari took ways and means of 3.3 trillion, which represented 85.27% of the 2018 revenue. In 2020, the revenue of Nigeria was 4.04 trillion, and Buhari's ways and means was 4.4 trillion. 107% of the 2019 revenue, and 7% more than the 2019 revenue. That at that point, the alarm that should have been blown in this country in all sectors, including labor that have been crying, labor has not been living up to expectation because they know the danger of this sort of recklessness.
But then apart from the labor, we still have the National Assembly that is supposed to check the activities of the executive. What was their response?
You had the leadership who clearly, openly on TV said, whatever Mr. President brings, he will get approval. That was what Lawan said. That was against what Saraki did. And they saw Saraki, the then Senate President, and some other voices at the National Assembly as the only problem of Nigeria. They don't allow Mr. President to have his way. And when the man was stopped from coming back, they had their way. Now, 2020, I have just mentioned, 2021, revenue of Nigeria was 4.64 trillion. Ways and means under Buhari was 4.3 trillion, 106.4% of the 2020 revenue. In 2022, revenue of Nigeria was 6.49 trillion, and the ways and means that Buhari took was 6.4 trillion, representing unprecedented 138% of the 2021 revenue. You cannot and you should not need a seer to tell you that this has never happened possibly anywhere in the world, and for it to happen to an economy, an unproductive economy, there's no way that country can survive. the truth of the matter is, our current predicament, this was the reason where people ask, how did we get here?
Okay.
This is one of the reasons how we got to where we are. And unfortunately, while the campaign was going on, I've been on radio every week, looked on television every week, and I raised alarm that people are talking about just coming to power, wanting zoning or power to be retained in the north, or like our man who is now the president, he says it's his turn, and the other man, Obi, was talking about from production to consumption, and one thing led to another. People refused to say how terrible the economy was, that as at that time, Nigeria was using about 97% of our revenue to service debt. So this is the crisis that we've been put.
There's currently a probe, as you even mentioned. The National Assembly said, let's look into this ways and means that was taken under the Buhari's administration. Do you actually see a result? You have mentioned from investigations what the former president took from every year that he was in office. Now, do you foresee a positive result or outcome from this probing or investigation?
Well, the challenge that we have is that the probe, the Senate President had given directive that that probe should be very discreet, should be very thorough, and there should be no sacred cows, no partisan relationship should affect.
So that gives you confidence.
Yes, and and then the public should be informed from time to time. Interestingly, as inquisitive as I am, I've not been able to see updates on the probe. And for the fact that you are not dealing with an administration that is different from, this is a continuation of the APC administration, despite the fact that President Tinubu was very clear. He actually campaigned against the APC to come to power. Yeah, he campaigned against his party more than even the opposition parties. That notwithstanding, the kind of force, the kind of speed we should have seen in some of these groups, they are not there. To me, they are not there so far. But for the probe of the CBN, which the probe has been concluded by the special investigator, Jim Obaze, and the report has been submitted to Mr. President. And apart from some leakages when it started, which were not refuted or were unconfirmed, that full report has not leaked. That's commendable as well. But that wasn't supposed to be. He was supposed to be submitting a report weekly. And as this report comes, the public are supposed to be in the know, because sovereignty resides in the people. So, but for the National Assembly, the strong words used by Mr. President of the Senate, I have not seen the outcome yet. And going by the fact that some persons were trying to rope in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that he himself has taken ways and means without due process, it would seem as what is going on here? Like Macaroni will say, what is going on here?
Citizen, but the present governor of the CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, has mentioned that the federal government will not be getting any more ways and means loan until they pay the outstanding debt. What gives you, or do you actually have, still speaking about confidence, that he won't go back to the old ways and means, pun intended?
The culture had been established already. The culture of not going through due process to get the ways and means, and also getting the ways and means far above the threshold. And
but that was in the past administration. I mean, we've had analysts coming to say that the present CBN governor is actually acting different from the others. He seems to, have a direction. So, do you think that this will still happen under the current CBN governor? Well,
he made the statement. He made the statement after ways and means had already been given to the current administration, and maybe that's one of the reasons why the administration is trying to pay back, because definitely they will need this support. But looking at the gap, it is impossible to see how maintaining a 5% adherence to the CBN Act of 5%, not exceeding 5% of the previous year's revenue. I don't know if Nigeria was able to have a revenue up to 9 trillion as at 2023. If we did, you're going to look at 5% of that.
Okay, but
and what does 5% mean to this administration that needs money?
So are you saying that
business?
So are you saying that that law should be changed, or you're saying that it's impossible for you to get less than 5%, and so the CBN governor will go against what he has said?
There are too many avenues to recover funds, mop-up funds, looted funds that are lying idle in people's accounts. Mr. President himself has acknowledged that the oil sector had been taken over by those he called, what did he call them? Elite of elites.
Yeah, the elite of the elites.
And I cannot imagine that anybody in Nigeria can intimidate President Asiwaju Tinubu. He is a godfather. He himself is, I don't know what name to use. He was a wrestling, the kind of person I should liken him to. So, but if, as it seems so far, that the current administration has not been able to probe the oil sector and recover trillions, not billions, trillions that have been looted, which records are there, even with the National Assembly. Remember, the House of Reps did the probe of the oil subsidy sector, and then those monies are there. The people are alive, and government knows them. So if you cannot go to that sector and recover looted funds, and you want to revert to placing taxes on anything and everything that every citizen needs, the first thing is to recover stolen funds. They are in their trillions, and several subheads are there. There is one that was called stamp duty, where one federal house member served as a secretary committee, where a consultant had convinced President Buhari that so much money has been stolen and stacked away, and the blame was still on the Senate, the CBN governor, that those monies, they run into trillions, and even people in the financial sector said it's impossible. How can stamp duty accumulate up to about 70-something trillion and all of that? Let's not take Gazauri serious by accepting that there is 70-something trillion or 80-something trillion under stamp duty. He mentioned the banks. I think even give the account numbers. Why not prove that aspect? Now there's something that is called waivers. Under that last administration, about 16 trillion was given as waivers to importers, and just a number of them. And the effects of the waivers did not reflect on the cost of the goods, because these people are monopolists, these people are capitalists, these people are, some of them, even inhuman when it comes to doing business. So why not probe the waivers granted to certain business persons? The CBN money, foreign exchange that were given to people anyhow, one person got up to 3.4 trillion at a lower rate than the official rate, one person, and his name is in the public domain, and nothing is done about that. If we are not ready to clean, if you come into this room, if this room had been left in the hands of somebody who's not clean and who doesn't care about safety and whatever, it allows this room to be very dirty. You have cups, you have cakes, you have things messed up, some things mold grow on it, and you want to come in here and say, yes, you are the new management, and you don't first of all ask that this studio be cleaned up, and then you invite people like I'm a cleaner myself, so I don't joke with cleanliness no matter where I am, you understand? And you bring me in here if I manage to stay the first day and I tell you right away, please, I will never come back if this place is not clean. That is what has happened to the country. The kind of clean sweep that should take place. Investigation should be like project. In fact, the greatest project we should embark upon will be to recover looted funds, and then at the point extend an amnesty program to the hoodlums, the fraudsters who have converted the people's commonwealth to their personal funds. And by the time you recover money, it's going to be in possibly trillions of dollars, not naira again. Yes. Why should Nigeria owe? You know why Nigeria is surviving? Because God loves this country. No matter the loot, from local government to states to the federal, the country still survives. One, the resilience of the people who are willing to be pushed to the wall, and they will break the wall to still escape, and they will be praying for their leaders, praying for themselves, and trying to show that their God is with them. That's why they are not giving up, even though they are dying. That's what has sustained us. But there is a point it will be impossible, and the people who believe that Nigerians can't do anything will be shocked. So, without a forensic probe of every sector, no amount of taxation, like what is going on in the electricity subsector, it's going to be one of the biggest indictments for this administration. How can the power sector that has not been productive, people have been paying for darkness, you have not improved, and you are telling us that the federal government that the minister accused about last month or 2 months ago, that they are owing them? It's the federal government that has not been paying for whatever transaction that they have, running to about just 1.something trillion, and you are turning it to say you have been paying subsidy, and because of that you want to withdraw the subsidy on electricity, and you want to categorize sectors into band A, band B, band Z, and all of that, whereas the meter readers who don't even read meters, they just look at the size of the house and give you bill, and they will tell you, when you tell them, this, I don't have lighting point, I don't have appliances, they say we have targets. They are very honest, because they themselves are ashamed. They say we have target to meet. Indiscriminate billing, and you are not ashamed. You don't even buy the equipment, and this is a sector that was privatized. How can we talk about privatization and in the same breath talk about the amount government is putting in and the kind of regulation government is bringing in? It is going to take us to a point where people will normally say, how did we get here? Now that we are talking, this is the road we are going through. So there's no way raising taxes, import duties, the subsidy that was said to have been removed. I'm sure you are aware that subsidy is still being paid. World Bank has even said so. The government has not denied it. When dollar got to 1,900 naira to a dollar, there's no way fuel will have sold at less than 1,003 to 1,004. But because government had to do wonders, and it was clear how that wonders was done, the license given to importers to bring in fuel, when they said we have deregulated, was the seventh time they have deregulated, the NNPC had to withdraw again to become the sole importer, and even giving oil ahead to get some dollars. They became a financial sector to cushion the effect on the economy. We are in a bundle of confusion, and until professional bodies, patriotic citizens who are well informed, civil society come together, analyze issues, and tell government this is the way to go, else we will not agree.
All right, citizen, it's time for us to hear from our listener. We're going to throw open the phone lines right now to get contributions. The phone lines are already buzzing for us to get to know people's perspective. Now the phone lines are open. The phone numbers are 0803 085 7755, or 0809 066 6909. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the repayment of the Ways and Means loan. Good morning. Welcome to the program. What's your name and where you're calling us from? Good morning to you. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Akman calling from York.
Welcome, Akman.
I want to say, the government has the wherewithal to do whatever it wishes. But I think there is an X factor that hinders the government from doing so. Because if you look at it, you see corruption here and there. People have taken money. We had the NDDC issue, what they call forensic audit. What has come out of it? What has come out of what the Syrian America did in the aviation sector? Now we are talking about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. The government can do it. But it seems when the leaders perpetrate all these financial impropriety, they reach to think that the only thing they can do is to turn around and impose the penalty on the citizen. We talk about power removal of subsidy. Now we are talking of removal of electricity subsidy. What is the rate? How does the international community or the what do you call it? This body that looks at the value per head of citizens. Look at Nigeria. Most Nigerians cannot be rated to have possessed $1 per day. So I think.
Can you wrap up for us, Akman?
Hello?
Wrap things up.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is the government should do the needful and do not impose the body on the citizens because the body is too much. We can no longer carry them. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Akman. We're still taking up some more calls. The phone numbers are 0803 085 7755, 0803 085 7755, or 0809 066 6909, 0809 066 6909. That is also our WhatsApp line in case you need to send us a message. We're also streaming live on Facebook. The handle is Memories965FM. Drop a comment and we'll definitely be reading it out. Hello, good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome to the program. What's your name? What's the name? Okay, you need to be audible. Alright, we're taking up more calls. We couldn't hear you, but call us back. The numbers are still, we'll have to check our Facebook in a minute. But before then, citizen, let's say, let's talk about what the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy said. He said that in addition to paying part of the Ways and Means advances, other initiatives to boost foreign exchange supply includes repatriation of foreign denomination assets into the formal financial sector, local issuance of foreign denominated federal government bonds, which is expected to be implemented in early second quarter of 2024. He also said that the federal government will focus on 3 core areas to grow the economy by at least 3.5% in 2024. And these areas include increasing oil production to 2 million barrels per day, boosting agriculture sector growth to 3%, and boosting trade activity to support a positive current account. Now, my question will be how sustainable, how possible, and how confident. But let's take this call first. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, everybody in the studio.
Now, welcome to the program. What's your name?
Apostle Kingsley John Prince, normally called Kingsley Tuku from Ghana for.
Welcome.
Yes, I love to join the people. My brother in the studio, good morning.
Good morning, my brother Tuku.
In an issue of dollar, raising writing up every day, $1 to 1,900, we get something in our nation, Nigeria, which dollar before was $1 to 1 naira.
right, thank you very much. Citizen, we have 4 minutes left, so you have to answer the questions that I throw at you in 3 minutes.
Well, the statement by the Minister of Finance, or CBN Governor?
No, the Minister of Finance.
Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
You don't take what government says. You take what government does.
So you don't think this is possible?
Even if it's possible, the volume of crisis that we are in is so monumental, and because of ignorance on the part of citizens, it now seems as if whatever government says or whatever government tells you, oh, it's done. But we are feeling it because there is no result yet reflecting on the livelihood of citizens.
Some would say you should actually cut them some slack, because a few weeks ago we were on 1,900 per dollar.
Good. You know why that has happened? Because of some deliberate policies that have been put in place, and that has only helped government mopping up funds here and there and having something to say. The reflection on the economy is not there yet, until, which is almost impossible, we must give ourselves that mental orientation. Where we've been taken to, it may never be possible to return us to where we were even picked, where dollar was 300 and less than 400. In fact, at the point it was about 300 and something. It was like, what is going on? This is crazy. Now, it may be impossible, but what could be possible? I mean, raising the standard of people's livelihood to meet up with the current realities, because the error that was made on May 29 will be very difficult to reverse. We are talking about being able to have 2 million barrels of oil per day. We have more than that, but it's been stolen still. It's been stolen. We've not been able to address that issue of stolen crude. We've not been able to tell truth to ourselves. Are we officially subsidizing petroleum products? If government can answer that, you will now know that, well, this is okay. Look at the mineral sector, the solid mineral sector. The people of Zamfara and other northern states, they are mining gold, mining diamond, and selling to government like, it's my product, you take this. Are you not aware? But that is a federal government resource. But states are mining and giving peanuts to the federal government. Until that sector is addressed, is a multi-trillion naira sector.
He also mentioned agricultural sector, and why I'm really particular about that, because we all know that, you know, they're saying a lot about production and not consumption. We need to be able to produce our own food items. In order
you know something about it? Let me cut you in. Sorry to cut you in. If you look at the subsectors in the agri ministry, there are so many of them. I'm sure there are even more than 8 to 10 or far more. There is none that addresses issue of direct planting. Planting, they say, this is our farm. For instance, during the Green Revolution of President Shagari, or we start from Operation Feed the Nation, Green Revolution, there were farms. We now had what was called the River Basin Authorities. They were doing farming.
So what I'm getting from you is you don't have any confidence in what Wale said.
It is not. There is no clear policy put in place. For instance, look at the humanitarian sector. Government has put in maybe something in the region of 3 to 5 trillion to address issue of poverty in the land. We are creating more poor people. Why? Because it is the politically exposed persons who are the actual people who are being given these palliatives, and they are going away with billions and even in trillions, because set up what I call Citizens Bank or People's Bank in the model of what IBB did. Every money should be channeled for palliative, for interest-free loans, for grants. You go to bank where your data will be captured. They don't want to do that, and I've also recommended that to a private state government under His Excellency Governor Moino, who's doing very well in terms of trying to reach out to the downtrodden. But there's no way that program will see the light of day if there's no central coordination, including, let me add this. About yesterday, he had iftar, that is breaking fast with the Muslim brothers and sisters, and he announced interest-free loans to the Arewa community, Yoruba community, Igbo community, and Niger Delta community, 200 million each, and even SA for all of them, and then SSA for overall. How would that money be disbursed? The same thing. No loan, interest-free or whatever loan or grants should be given outside using what we have in the state as either Akwa savings and loans, or you use the Boom Fadama, of which the Fadama stuff I have said on, I think maybe on a sister station, or is it here? Fadama is a Hausa word.
Yeah, you said it here.
Yes, for lowland farming. In our language, it's not an acronym, so that should be removed from Ibom. What I recommend to be called Ibom People's Bank, so that every assistance facilities for farming should be channeled through a bank, and recovery to be assured, so that this money can be recycled. To just make an announcement, like I've said, don't take words for it, take the action.
All right. Thank you very much, Citizen. That has been insightful. Thank you.
My pleasure, always.
For that.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with the president and founder of Open Forum, and he has been able to give us a breakdown of what, you know, these ways and means entailed, and the impact of the repayment of the 4.83 trillion naira that was, you know, borrowed, and you know, it has been repaid. There has been a form of applause kind of from the National Assembly, but we've gotten to see more on the, you know, analysis on the impact of that on the economy. Thank you so much for listening to the Melting Point on Memories on 6.5 FM. We'll be back again for this particular program tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. My name is Sharon Mandor. Do well to enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again, Citizen Matthew O'Connor.
My pleasure always. Thank you very much.